for the last time this decade, I feel, and Ed feels, we should salute the man upstairs. Our man upstairs is Bo Cunningham. Like 6 other Apollo Command Module pilots before him, he came to the moon, but has not walked upon it. And yet, of all 3 men on a mission, he is the one whose functions are mandatory so that we may return to our families. When our spacecraft splashes down in the cool waters of the Pacific, it is Bo who will have flown us home. Every man has his moment. For this lucky man, it is the view I now see as I look out the lunar module window. But few, if any, will know what moment our man upstairs, Bo, carries home with him.
Oh, I've always loved the outdoors. Just prefer to live in this kind of setting, this kind of area, like being on the river, like being in the mountains, like being in the hills, like being self-sufficient. I had a teacher in 8th grade, and he had seen a design, I don't know if it was in popular mechanics or popular science, and what it was is it was a Regala wing, delta winged hang glider that you could build out of bamboo and polyurethane visqueen. And he had us build this thing. And we took this out to the local park where there was a hill. And we built this thing out of black magic, which is like an adhesive. We built a Regala wing, basically what would be called a hang glider right now. And grabbed football helmets from the team, and we flew that thing. Every one of us flew that thing. And so you asked me before, the first time I had flown, that would probably be it. Is this high school science teacher who was kind of a nut. Wouldn't be allowed today. Wouldn't never happened today. But we got up in the air. We got 20, 30 feet up in the air and flew that thing. And we'd wrap rags and t-shirts and stuff around it where we could literally hang from our armpits off this thing. And I think I've pretty much wanted to fly ever since then. I obviously wasn't part of the original 7, but I was in the class behind them. And it was a fairly small group of guys. We didn't really have control over who we were with. We were paired up with these guys, and then sometimes that changed. And so, yeah, you're dealing with a bunch of A-type personalities. These guys are all at the top of their game. And so, yeah, you had to let go of some of that ego. When they put up the crew for 18, and I saw that I wasn't going to be piloting the lunar module, I was very upset. I felt like I was the most qualified candidate, as I was probably the better pilot.
So the piloting duties of the command module?
Simple, relatively simple compared to landing, I thought. I think there was a political... My thing just caught his eye.
He came from a very well-known family, and his father was a commander on a U.S. aircraft carrier in World War II, and later became a U.S. Senator for New York. They literally shared a fence with the Roosevelts at Hyde Park. Oh, I was immediately impressed with him.
Do you think that his family name helped him with his NASA career?
It's a pretty reasonable question. Yes, I'm sure it helped him. It would be naive to think that it didn't help get him in, but it didn't keep him in.
Ed was my best friend at the time. I can say he was a great guy.
There were the guys that were the kind of more towards the jocks. There were the more intellectual types. And there were some of the guys that were a little more Bible thumping.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
And then there were some that were buying into the whole military aspect of it.
And what
I mean, I always just felt like I was just a pilot. And I think there was a few of us that just saw ourselves as being flyers. And this was the ultimate ride.
Ed Lovett and Al Borden get into the lunar module and for a few days say goodbye to the command module. Bo Cunningham is left in orbit. He has to face up that he was the designated driver. He sits there while the other guys have fun at the party.
We can groove all right, but it gets a little stranger in the starlight. When you're feeling the trip, just loosen your grip and trust the big man in the moonlight and get a little stranger in the starlight. Out of sight on the other side of midnight. Stranger in the starlight. Feeling alright. You feel it and you feel it. Get stranger in the starlight. Out of sight on the other side of midnight. Stranger in the starlight. You feel it getting stranger. Starlight. Stranger in the moonlight. Star bright. Oh, stranger starlight. Oh, on the other side of starlight.
To overshoot by thousands and thousands of miles, your splashdown target is catastrophic.
When I had to manually fly the capsule, only thing that mattered was that we made it through the re-entry without burning up.
I was watching with my dad on TV.
Apollo 18, ready for your copy. What did you and your father think had happened?
Well, we thought we'd lost him. You know, my dad just left the room. It just got real quiet. And then I heard my dad say, we just lost your brother.
Upside down, for Christ's sake, but we'd never made it. We never even gotten out of the damn capsule, but here we are, and we'll go to higher ground. We can always see the capsule from higher ground. So let's go up there and check that out.
We got to get some shoes on.
Wild animals usually stick to lower ground.
Get the kid out.
Dryland landing, these capsules are designed for splashdown. Could have killed us all. It was hot and dry. We just tried to find a place that had natural shade. We wanted to scout the area, figure out where the best place to camp was, see if there was any water.
Why didn't you guys just start hiking up?
Because we had no idea which direction to go in. And we figured that the odds were that they had tracked us to that point, and it made absolutely no sense to move from there. It was just a matter of time of getting men and equipment out there.
Yes, okay.
I didn't think we'd be there more than 24 hours.
How about the transmitter at? I want to see if I can get this beacon out here. Let's open these up outside.
When we opened the ESK, there was a bunch of things in there. There was water and shoes and machete, and there was also journals. When we had done our survival training, they had told us that these journals were in there so that we could basically keep a log of our activities. We never thought we'd have to use them.
To the side, Ed. Come on, give us a hand.
How was Ed right after the landing?
I think Ed wasn't doing very well. I think Ed was shook up by the whole thing. I think he was uncomfortable with the entire situation. Al had hung a piece of the parachutes off of a rock, and I felt like it was enough to be laid on the ground. I was concerned about indigenous people that might not be too happy that we had just landed there. We weren't necessarily prepared to defend ourselves. So I felt like anything that was laid on the ground and facing upward was a safer bet than anything that might bring in somebody local.
Well, I'm putting it down right here. You can do what you want. Yeah, wait, we're on our way.
It's all gnarled up in this thing. Maybe just unsnag it.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ow! Man, that smarts like a son of a bitch.
You didn't recognize this plant as being potentially hazardous?
No.
Even though you walked right by it?
No, it wasn't something that was familiar to me. It didn't look like it didn't really just differentiate it from anything else. I was just trying to, take a straight line towards our campsite.
Rocks up. Oh my God. Now, I got this up
But
here.
you felt it was a serious situation.
Absolutely.
Why don't you go down, set up the pole? I'll make sure it's
Did everybody feel it was as serious as you did?
Well, Al is incapable of feeling like anything's a serious situation, I think. He was like a school kid. But he was always like that, so why be any different in this situation?
Choose your weapons. Come on. You have offended my family with that crappy landing you just put us through. On guard.
On guard.
Settle. Come on. He's out here to wait a minute.
We had everything we needed to be very comfortable for an extended stay.
All right, so the first thing you did then was what?
Scout the area, see if there was any water, anything that would benefit us.
Rim of that crater, I swear to you, it was blue.
I think that everybody that went up there in the three-man teams, each one of us that ended up in the command module would have wanted to be able to walk on the moon. And some of us felt like that was our rightful place.
Been to another planet, Ed. Another planet.
From what I remember, that was the best night of sleep I'd had in weeks. Finally back down on the ground. I never slept well in space. I believe that Ed was concussed, badly concussed, on impact. He never really seemed to be as with it from the landing forward. They were clearly affected by something, and I wasn't. And so I thought about the water, and we were eating the same. I figured it couldn't have been that, so I took a look at them to try to figure out what it was. I'm gonna try to get them out, okay? When we were hauling the parachute and gear over to set up our camp, it became entangled in a bush. They both were plucking it out and complained of the stinging irritation that they received from it. Because I went back and I saw the piece of material that was caught in it and looked at it. I didn't know what it was, though. And didn't become apparent until right at the very end that this was of high consequence. If there's one thing that I could change, I would have to say that Al and Ed would have made it home. Well, they both went very quickly, and they, you know, it wasn't, they just...
Time, you were the Honorable Peter Polarin.
That's correct. The good people of Massachusetts honored me by voting me into the House of Representatives.
And when was that?
1972.
And how long did you serve?
Well, a number of years.
But how many terms?
Well, it was just one term. I got a little boat and take my clients out on that, or my name's still on the door, so... I'm a lousy retiree. You can ask my wife. She'll tell you that.
So did you and Bo ever go out on the boat?
Well, he was a good drinker.
He didn't get seasick, did he?
No, he didn't get seasick. You ever seen that guy? Yeah. I mean, tall, fit. He's a very fit man.
Let's talk about the Polarin Commission.
You know, it's my favorite subject. Nixon told us that he was going to appoint a special commission that was going to investigate fully how and why this accident occurred and how my husband died.
We were told that something had gone wrong. and that we'd be working with NASA scientists to try to determine what that was.
So you seemed pretty young for the job.
I was young. I wasn't even in the SAC program at that point, and I think they gave me the assignment because I was so young and they thought I could be pushed around.
Well, I think my work on the science committee caught the attention of the president's staff, and then when this Apollo 18 business came up, they honored me with the chairmanship.
Any moment of doubt?
No. As I say, you're sitting on the chairman's spot, and you acknowledge this person and that person and let them do their thing.
Anything he would touch. If you ask why didn't they do something, it's an unanswerable question. The guy was an idiot.
Did Earl Warren have to assassinate somebody to chair the Warren Commission?
The Polarin Commission was pure political kabuki.
It was laid out clearly in the Box and Beatty book.
And that book is a work of fiction. It's written by two guys who specialize in writing conspiracy theory books. They wrote one on Kennedy. It's absurd. Absurd. To even ask me a question in relation to that book, I mean, if you've read it, you know it's a bunch of bullshit in that book.
If it hadn't been in that kind of a publication, yes. And that breaks my heart.
Nobody's ever refuted their facts.
Facts? If you want facts, read the book that I co-authored. That's where the facts are. If you want facts, take a look at the commission report.
When we found out who was put as the head of the commission, we knew.
Some of the issues were just brutal. Orbital mechanics, calculus, trigonometry.
Mike Russo was looking for something that wasn't there.
Well, let me help you out here. Mike Russo, he was working day and night, and he was staying in constant communication with us. He was truly working to find the truth.
Give me an example. What kinds of things was Russo asking about?
He was asking about my relationship with my brother when we were growing up, if he ever flew off the handle, if he ever did anything unusual, something outrageous, like my brother tortured kittens.
And then you had Pete Pellerin, who was also running an investigation, but his investigation was going, I don't know where, nowhere.
Did the administration give you any guidelines for the commission's work?
Get it done and don't keep the country waiting.
It seemed like all he did was want to talk to Bo.
Did you personally conduct the interview?
Yes, I did. I had the first interview with him.
And did you ask him what happened in China?
No.
Why not?
Well, that's not what I wanted my relationship with Bo to be. We had other people on the committee to ask about all that jazz. I wanted to know what it was like flying out there in space, I can tell you that. I mean, floating out there with all your friends, I mean, that would be a dream, wouldn't it?
I knew Pete Pellerin. To be polite, he's a dumb fuck.
What was the most outrageous thing that the FBI was saying?
Pretty much everything they said. The concept that Bo could affect the re-entry and on purpose put them down in China, there's one.
There was all kinds of speculation around what occurred to put us in at an incorrect attitude for re-entry.
The worst case is it bounces off the atmosphere. There's a skipping effect, and they lose contact with Earth. They're off into deep space. Slow death.
We did not have a contingency for being rescued out of orbit.
The second worst outcome is quick death. Go into the atmosphere too steep, the heat shield fails, you burn up in a matter of seconds, hopefully.
A 10-year-old child could do that.
Ed Lovett called him the best goddamn command module pilot he ever saw.
It's almost an understatement. The guy was a phenomenon.
We entered the entry sequence into the onboard computer, and the numbers immediately looked wrong to me.
Nobody knew how he really did it. When he was on Gemini, he actually came up with a couple of corrections doing this, even though it wasn't his job.
And Mission Control never questioned him?
Well, I mean, they didn't take his calculations as the word of God, but they sure as hell listened.
As soon as I saw that things didn't look right and they were actually way off, that's when I took the stick and started flying it.
I don't know what really happened up there.
I think people understand that I just did my job as a pilot.
There's a guy, we have one guy down on Earth that's his whole life is just handling the re-entry burn. He sent the instructions up. Bo says they were fucked up.
It was really clear from the instrumentation alone.
I could see the guy saying, oh man, this instruction's fucked up, and it wasn't. It's just sitting there, perfect, and he said, oh, I got it, I fixed it, don't worry. We couldn't see what was going on, you know. We had to assume he was looking at a bum instruction. I'll say this, though. If there was a bum instruction, he is the only guy who could have spotted it. So it is possible that he spotted this instruction, and like everybody says, he was a hero, and he saved the mission. We never had wrong instructions in our life. The guy who did it was crushed by this. We call him Retro. This guy, Retro, because that's all he did, retro burns. The accusation that there was something wrong with the reentry burn instructions, it ruined his career.
And Bo says that because the instructions were wrong,
Yeah, he had to take over. The instructions were fouled up, right stuff kind of stuff, joystick here, and we're gonna make this great landing. But that's not all, because the computer's running, it's overriding his manual instructions. So he's going with one hand, reprogramming the computer, and he's steering the vehicle with the other hand.
Well, that sounds pretty heroic.
Yeah, it is.
My fellow pilots understood exactly what I had done. The bureaucrats didn't, but...
I think he was lying his ass off and that he fucked up the instructions on purpose. You know that. That's what I think. But I think that's an incredibly ballsy thing to do because he had no way of knowing he could possibly pull off that landing.
I was just hoping it was over the water.
He brought it down by the seat of his pants. Hard landing in the middle of China. That was impressive. I've got theories about that, but it was impressive to even be able to do it.
I think there was a glitch in the software. I don't think there was a programming error whatsoever.
We brought the hardware back from China. We checked it out. There was nothing wrong. It didn't happen. Even after a hard landing, it still worked. So it had to work before the hard landing. You don't fix a computer by slamming it into a desert. So the idea that it wasn't processing correct instructions incorrectly is poppycock. I can't even think of the right word. It's just bullshit. It's not, you can't even say that. It's not legitimate to even argue it.
And when I say glitch, I just think one of the keystrokes didn't take.
What about the guys who actually designed the computer? What did they think?
They were offended. They were afraid they were going to end up like Retro, fucked over by Bo's crock of shit lies.
If I hadn't put us down there, there'd be 3 dead bodies still up there right now, okay? So I put us down, all right? Does that answer your question? I put us back on Earth.
But not there.
I did what I had to do.
But not there in China. That was an accident.
That's where I put us. I put us in China. That's where we landed.
Okay, Houston. On my mark, I'm going to hit the CMSM SCP on 3, 2, 1. Mark. We got it. Oh, did we get it? All back to 0. Select Charlie. Okay, we're going back. Yaw's out 14 degrees. Why the hell didn't I do that? Yeah, it should have been 1.4 degrees yaw. Delta V, it's there. See optic 0, off verb 41, now 91. Shit, after all that trouble, you're going back to 0? Seems right. Give me the numbers. 15, 19, and what? Delta V. Translation controller, all right. Delta V, Droite, north. Rotational hand controller number 2, on. Rotational 2, on. Whiskey Mike. Man, now that feels like more than one change. Add a pitch, Bo. I got it. Sit tight. Can't lose the pitch at 152. Fucking gone. No mid-pass. No mid-pass. God, where, Bo?
Ed was hell-bent on figuring out why we were there.
Did you help him with that?
Yeah, I helped him.
Ed was obviously suspicious of Bo from the time of the landing.
He was trying to figure out if somehow or another something that I did had brought us there.
Did he openly accuse you of...
Oh, yeah. That was where he was at, but I think he was on the verge of being in a hallucinatory state at that point.
Even when he was hallucinating, there was something to what he was hallucinating.
Laying there in China, he figured it all out. I mean, you get it? He knew.
I think Ed was kind of slipping away.
What do you think happened out there?
You mean with Ed? His hallucination?
Yeah.
I think it happened.
It was after midnight. There wasn't a sound. There was no animals. There was nothing. It was just silent. Anybody with a clear mind that would read Ed's journal would know that Ed had figured it out. And Pallerin read the journal, and he totally dismissed everything that Ed wrote because he was going on Beau's word of Ed's mind being compromised.
I think he was afraid of Ed. He's always misstated on this point.
In the journal, where he says that the figure he chased was all in black.
He didn't say that.
I'll read it. He says, the experience was terrifying. Who was this man? I never got a good look at him, but in the dark of the night...
The suit looked black.
He never wrote that the suit was black.
No, he didn't. He wrote that it looked black, which is entirely believable in the dark.
So the Polaris report mischaracterizes Levitt's statement that the suit looked black. Why would they do that?
To discredit Ed. Let's think about it for a minute. The FBI knows that Beau had, I don't want to say stalked, he tracked Al. Maybe he was looking to see if Al was okay. But he was out there following Al into the gully when Al got sick.
Levitt and Borden get sick. Borden leaves the campsite and vomits in a dry wash. We know exactly where.
Yeah, I'm sure that's all true, but I wasn't aware of it.
More bullshit.
We know by their journals that Beau was out in the desert in the middle of the night. What I want to know is why the hell was Beau out there in the middle of the night?
I think Ed wasn't getting sick quick enough. I mean, they could have been rescued at any time. Ed was catching on. He had advanced calculations that were getting close to definitively establishing the descent into China was intentional. Beau had really looked at those notes, he would have destroyed them.
The investigation showed 2 sets of footprints leading to the ravine where Al got sick. One of them splitting off and then stopping against the cliff face. Are you saying that those were not your footprints?
I have no idea whose footprints those are. We were all over the place. We all had the same kind of shoes on. We were, all over that area, so.
Footprints, shoe size, forensic mapping of everywhere they went.
I wasn't aware of their illness until the following day.
So, if I told you that the FBI had determined that the size of that second pair of footprints matched the shoes that you were issued,
So what?
did NASA rake you over the coals a bit for losing these rocks?
They didn't, because I had nothing to do with them being contaminated.
You were the one guy who was in the best shape after people started getting sick.
Yeah, but I wasn't aware that they were being opened or contaminated or taken away from our campsite.
Shouldn't you have been?
No.
So you don't care about the rocks?
No. To be honest, no, not really. One box was compromised. Who gives a shit? It's ridiculous. We lost the fucking moon rocks. Who cares? Difference does it make? We had plenty of moon rocks. Who gives a shit about these rocks? I gotta tell you, if I hear about these fucking moon rocks one more time, that's it. I mean, how many missions worth of rocks do we have? None of them have tested out much different than any other one. So he opened the box of rocks. Who cares? Still test them. They're compromised. So what? They've been in the Earth atmosphere. So what? They hit some dirt in the Earth.
It was a clusterfuck. Everyone had been sitting in Mocha for 36 hours straight. It took about 36 hours to find the site. There was a lot of pessimism by that time. So when that report came in, the sense of relief was overwhelming.
Did people think it was time to break out the cigars?
They did, but I didn't.
Why not?
They said they only saw one astronaut.
Kate and I were both in the gallery. I was watching Fred Calder. He was having an argument with Chris and Glenn.
They should have locked the doors the minute that the reentry got botched.
Kate was excited. She was beaming and she was very happy, but she was young. She hadn't been through any of that before.
Oh, I thought they were dead.
How did your family respond to all the attention from the press?
There wasn't any press. I mean, not around our house. They were all over the Lovett's house. Every time I drove by Kate Borden's house, there were, but there wasn't press around us.
There came a time after you got back, a week or two, when you walked into the debriefing room and it was no longer just NASA investigators. Who was there?
There were several members of the FBI and a lot of people trying to cover their asses.
It took quite a bit to get into China in the first place. You have to remember this was 1973. Here we were, a whole crowd of capitalist pig spies mucking around on Chinese soil. I don't even want to think what Nixon had to promise Mao for that. We protected the critical parcels, and it became essentially an archaeological dig.
This is one of the campsite that shows where some of the trash was thrown. Can you tell me what might strike you as being wrong or odd about that picture?
This isn't the original picture. This has been cropped. What are you giving me?
So, and here is the uncropped picture. Why don't you tell us what's notable about the uncropped picture?
Boy, this is outrageous. Oh, Jesus. You can see it right here. They cropped out the thorns. They cropped the thorns out of this picture. This is the debris from when Bo was trying to help Al.
But those thorns don't look like something you'd pull out of someone's skin. I mean, those look much more substantial.
Oh, absolutely. These are the thorns with the neurotoxin.
So why would there be? You're suggesting that there are thorns that were cut.
You have a picture of the. These are surgical scissors.
And these scissors were used on the missions for what exactly?
Whatever, to open food. I mean, it was.
The scissors could have been used for anything, right?
These were probably used to cut thorns.
There were as many thorns around their rafts as there was around the plant.
Doesn't that actually support the idea that Cunningham removed thorns from Lovett and Borden?
Yeah, that, or he brought more thorns back from the plant to stick them again.
It was a search for something that just wasn't there. You know, it's like the Loch Ness Monster. You know, somebody sees a bump in the water, suddenly it's a prehistoric animal. It's not just a duck or a big fish. Nobody investigates those things. They go for, it's gotta be something else. That's what Mike Russo and the FBI was doing over and over again, searching for something that just wasn't there.
We found the canteen. It's a simple canteen, just the same kind my dad used in France. That exact kind of canteen. We found it buried about a mile from where the spacecraft came down.
That canteen could have come from anywhere. There was how many hundreds of people who visited that site?
Do you know what his request was before he got onto the rescue chopper? That was to relieve himself. The rescue guys stood around while Bo pissed like a racehorse.
The Pellerin report completely ignores the canteen. No one knows about it. The commission doesn't know about it. Have you seen the canteen? Mike Russo gave it to me.
We were surprised to see that Joan Lovett is in possession of the canteen. Did you give the canteen to Joan Lovett?
Yeah, well, let's be clear about this. My investigation was charged with getting to the truth about what happened out there. And the canteen was the biggest threat to the narrative that the Pellerin Commission was supporting.
Which was that the whole thing was just an unfortunate accident.
Yeah.
So as it became clear that your team and the Pellerin Commission were developing competing narratives about what happened, what was your biggest concern at that point?
My biggest concern was that those guys would work to undermine my investigation.
You were actually worried that Pellerin would sabotage your investigation?
Well, yeah.
Would you say that it's actually something less than a coincidence that your key piece of evidence ended up with Joan Lovett?
Yeah, something less.
And so when your investigation was terminated and you were ordered to turn over everything you had, all your evidence, all the work you had done to the commission.
We turned in all of our evidence.
So you feel your team followed the law and did the right thing?
I feel like we did.
We weren't hiding evidence. We were making sure that the evidence that was ignored by the Pellerin report, that it's preserved, because the Pellerin report totally ignored all of the evidence. This was evidence.
More than that, it was kind of a heart stopper.
And Pellerin has made sure that no one knows about it.
After they picked the crew for 18, that was about 3 months before the flight. They gave them a couple weeks off. In any event, no one saw him during that whole 2-week period.
We can't find anyone who says they saw you during that period.
So?
Where did you go?
I came up here and went backpacking. Actually, it was the first time I took a look at the piece of land I'm living on right now.
Who did you pack with?
Oh, I went by myself.
But nobody saw him in Colorado. They got nothing that indicates he was in Colorado, or for that matter, even in the United States. They just lost track of him for 10 days.
You stayed in the States?
I did. I just happened to not be with anybody.
He didn't stay at any motels. He didn't rent a car. He didn't use a credit card, or nothing.
Now, you're aware that there are reports that...
You mean the Chinese excursion?
Yes.
Yeah, it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. How am I going to get into communist China? Get deep into communist China? It's absurd.
But with nobody having seen you otherwise...
The whole idea of my having been there, being able to land us there, absurd. You don't think the government could have figured out that I'd gotten out of the country somehow or another? Or there would be flight records, there would be passport control. I would have had to have a special use visa to get into communist China.
I think that he actually counted on the complexity of all that stuff.
There are witnesses, people who say they saw you.
Yeah, there's people that see, little green men walking around here all the time also. There's people that say a lot of things.
You should have seen the look on General Haig's face when I first mentioned what the FBI was talking about.
General Haig kept talking about it.
No. The FBI continued to talk about it.
One of the FBI guys says to me, we saw a guy looked a lot like Bo in Kazakhstan during the 10 days. Kazakhstan, what are you talking? Kazakhstan. He said, yeah. The descriptions really match him. Later on, we picked up similar descriptions in Aksu, China.
What's significant about that location?
Well, because Aksu's like 200 miles from the landing. Why are you telling me this? He said, well, we were told to stand down.
I believe that the Chief of Staff of the Office of the President of the United States would never ask the FBI to back off what they thought was a legitimate investigation. But if General Haig did ask them to back off, It would be just to help my commission, our work, and keep those guys from slowing us down with all their crackpot theories.
There was an Apollo-Soyuz joint exploratory committee looking into the possibility of Russian-U.S. space exploration. Bo was on that committee. I was on that committee. We were cheek and jowl with the Russians. I think there were 5 meetings. A couple of them were in Moscow. I think the fucking Ruskies got him over there.
Do you think that because nobody stamped Bo's passport, he couldn't just stroll across the Chinese border?
How else can you get from the United States to Kazakhstan through a desert in China? Okay, you say I'm presupposing my conclusion. Oh, yeah, I am.
We have Cubans that actually met with him on a beach in Guanabo, not 10 miles from Havana. We have eyewitnesses that saw him getting into a car with Soviet agents.
Imagine getting an astronaut to tell you how life really was, what our protocols were.
We have flights without flight plans from Cuba to Moscow to Almaty. And we have evidence that he just strolled across the Kazakh border into China like a damn Boy Scout.
I think the Russians got him out of the country because that's what he wanted. He got over where he knew he was going to land. He scoped it out. I think he was looking for maybe some plant, like neurotoxins in it, and that he was planning from day one to do what he did.
It all fits. You just have to think like Bo. Even the canteen. I mean, he's out there on his recon, and he's thinking, I'm the greatest pilot that ever lived. I could put a dime on the ground and land that spacecraft right on it. I mean, he thinks, if this thing comes together, I might need a little extra water. So he buries a canteen. Because you never know, you might need a little backup, right?
Whenever I verbalize it, it sounds bad to me. When I think it, it sounds good.
So just to be clear, you saw no evidence that during his leave, Bo Cunningham traveled to Cuba?
No.
And no one presented to you evidence that he met with agents of foreign governments?
No.
You never saw any evidence that Bo was observed in Almaty or Aksu, China?
I don't even know where those places are.
Mike was working diligently trying to put the pieces together, and Pellerin didn't want to see any of it.
Here we have Barton Cunningham, the command module pilot of Apollo 18, at the last scheduled mission to the moon, okay? And he and his crew, they're on every magazine and newspaper in this whole country, hell, in the whole world. And Bo Cunningham, he's as handsome as Robert Redford. And now you're telling me that he's got to make his way somehow across this whole country, unnoticed, and get himself to Cuba, and then literally fly halfway around the world, land in China, for what? To find a landing place there? And then he's got to reverse the whole thing, come back to Cuba, sneak back into the United States, and do all of this, what, in 10 days? I mean, that's nutty. It can't be done. It's crazy.
You're sure? I mean, you think there's no way?
No, well, don't you?
Pete Pellerin wouldn't even speculate on the most basic information.
From what I understand, it's all hearsay. I mean, somebody says this, somebody says that. I mean, I can go to the newsstands of a grocery store and see the same thing. Aliens from the other planet.
Do you consider this case closed?
I don't know if the case was ever actually opened, frankly.
Did your husband ever have anything bad to say about Bo?
Never had a thing.
At first, I thought he was very professional. The only thing I picked up immediately was he was a little bit insular, a little hard to connect with.
Ed came home with Bo, and they came and they were sitting at the kitchen table, and I wasn't paying that much attention to what they were talking about. It was, the men's stuff.
Oddly enough, even talking shop, the guy was boring. He was boring, and he tired you out quickly. God help you if you disagreed with him. He'd beat you to death for hours on end.
Then it got to be closer to dinner time, and then all of a sudden, Ed, he got called away. So I asked Bo if he wanted to stay and have dinner, and he said, sure.
Yeah, he got along with everybody, but I don't recall him being anybody's particular friend.
I remember him just being there, and he didn't talk very much.
Frankly, he made me uncomfortable, nervous. I don't know. Didn't want to be around him.
Ed came back, and I announced dinner's served. And all of a sudden, Bo says he's got to go. And that just kind of struck me odd.
I was a flight director. I was his boss. But I was a little afraid of the guy.
So I started to put salad on the table, and I went running into my bedroom, and I just started crying. I was sobbing.
I didn't trust him because I couldn't connect with him. I trusted him like I trusted a machine. It usually worked. I remember a meeting once at Johnson. Everyone was on deck to go over the entire protocol from stem to stern. We brought all the geeks in from all over the country, and it was a 4-hour meeting of heavy-duty slog through the math for the whole project. And Bo didn't say too much during the meeting, except once in a while he asked a guy to clarify something. And I didn't realize at the time why he was asking for these clarifications. It was so the guy could dig a hole for himself. Because at the end of the meeting, somebody says, well, let's wrap it up. Anyone got anything else to say? Bo goes, oh, I got a couple points. And then he proceeds to regurgitate the 4 hours, pointing out every single error everybody made, whether it was an addition error or a fundamental flaw, logic flaw, or a miscomprehension of physics. And believe me, he came up with at least 2 goofs that were major. And basically, nobody said anything. They couldn't refute a word that he said. You got to understand, this was a space monkey putting the wood to these Caltech guys. These guys are not supposed to get a facial from an astronaut. Wasn't supposed to happen that way. It's not supposed to ever happen. When he got done, everybody's guts were on the table. The way he tore them apart and used their own words, and you could see where he'd set them up when he'd ask questions to get them on the record that they didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. You know, it was sadistic. He didn't have to do it that way. He could have introduced his corrections as it go along, collegially, but that wouldn't work for him. Because then he wouldn't be the big swinging dick.
The commission report also doesn't seem to address in any real way Bo's relationship with Kate and Al Borden.
But we didn't care about that. We're not the National Enquirer.
Well, she wasn't Kate Borden when I met her.
What drew you to the beach?
Trudy Nichols. God, she was so funny. We had a blast. So much fun. Got into a lot of trouble.
What kind of people were down there?
Well, you know, you had people like us, and then you had the jarheads. So it's like polar opposites.
Did you guys go after the jarheads?
Are you kidding? No. Why would we? No, we wanted guitar players. We wanted, you know, surfers. Guys that smelled like cocoa butter, right?
We used to hang out poolside the Solid Inn we stayed at down at the Cape, and she was there one day, and that's where we met. I don't know if she came over and just introduced herself because she recognized a few of us.
Quiet, pretty boy. Didn't say a whole lot. So I found that kind of interesting.
I don't know, maybe a bit of a hippie.
I was a little jealous of her.
I wasn't a daddy's girl. Didn't sit on daddy's lap and get what I wanted.
Who wouldn't have wanted to be Kate for a weekend or two?
My dad was kind of a cross between Bo and Al, if you want to know the truth. So he could be very introverted.
Oh, I think we had a dinner date. Just went to a local seafood place and...
Obviously, he was a smart guy. Almost genius in a way. You know, it's not like we sat around talking about orbital mechanics.
There was a few guys that had met her, I'm sure.
Was the fact that he was an astronaut, did that impress you?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool.
It's been written in the other book that you went after her pretty hard.
I don't know what that means. Went after her.
Well, that it's.
I don't think so.
No?
No.
So right from the beginning, you weren't thinking long-term with Kate?
I don't really remember it that way.
Kate and Bo met in Cocoa Beach. They went to a big party for Werner von Braun.
I didn't even have anything to wear. I had to go buy a dress. I had to scrape some money together and buy a dress. I think Bo might have even given me some money. He didn't want to be embarrassed.
She was, for lack of a better word, part of the counterculture.
I walked into the room, and I remember I started laughing.
And what did Bo think about that?
He didn't like that.
Well, Al was, I kind of remember he'd had a few cocktails, and before I even introduced them, I think he asked her to dance. I think he just swept in and...
Kate meets Al, it's all over for Bo.
Did that upset you?
No, why should it?
As far as I was concerned, he didn't care.
We just wanted to get out of there. We she grabbed a bottle of champagne and kind of motioned for me to, like, let's skedaddle. So we left early.
And where did you go after that?
Back to the hotel.
We went to the beach. I asked him to drop me off the beach, and I wanted to walk home. We were driving to the beach, and all I could think about is he had this thing hanging from his mirror, and I thought it was gonna blow out of his convertible. I didn't even know what I was feeling after that dance. I didn't even know. I mean, you know when you meet somebody and there's a connection and everything lines up and they smell good, they feel good. So no, I wanted to see him. I mean, all I could think about was Al. So between the wind chime and Al, I was pretty fucked.
We're anxious to get back to her place and have some time to ourselves.
No.
Never happened?
No, never happened.
You can see there in Al's journal, he writes about meeting Kate later on that night at the beach.
No, this is a fantasy. So you're asking me questions about things that happened more than 25 years ago. It's kind of difficult to remember the lies, much less the truth about it.
I mean, I know he must have been a little upset. I think he was thinking we were gonna have a big night.
I think Bo was in a bunker of his own making, and we can't even understand it.
When did you find out that she and Al had actually begun to date?
He was more of an anomaly, you know, it was out of my, something I would have never normally done, that's all.
We were running a sim, or we were somewhere, and he told me. And at that point, we had not spoken for a while, and I wasn't really fazed by it.
Bo says he didn't care because it was all over for him anyway.
Well, he lied. He cared a lot.
So at that point, your relationship with Al...
Our relationship was fine. We had gotten through that way before the launch took place. We were so under the microscope, they would have never let us on board that ship if they felt that there was a hint of any ill feelings between any of the crew members.
Are you asking me to believe that a man like Bo Cunningham would kill over a woman like Kate Borden?
Took me a long time to get my head around the fact that he mucked up a multi-billion-dollar program and killed 2 people because some broad dumped him.
I'll never believe it.
Bo comes across Al, and Al's just sitting there. And Bo wrote about this.
Bo, you remember that night at the cave?
Al's writing in his journal. And then all of a sudden he gets all worked up about he and Kate, and about the night that he met Kate. And he just starts dancing.
lost signal parachute was found at the base of the cliff. What do you think happened to it?
I have no idea. Probably just blew down.
Well, there was a strange thing in Beau's journal. He says at one point that both of them are really ill, and he doesn't think there's anything he can do for them. But then he also writes in there that there's a call he may have to pay. And then Ed writes in his journal that he saw Beau just go walking out into the desert, and Ed could see him. But he was just sitting there.
What do you think Beau was doing?
Paying the call.
It's working. Oh, God, I hope it's working. Somebody might hear this.
There's so much going on out there. There's drag trails and footsteps. It looks as if Ed and Al tried to get back to the capsule at some point. We know Al got back and made a recording. There was some battery power left. What do we think all this means?
You have to understand it was falling apart out there.
Golden boy, Martin. What do you have to say, golden boy? Why is that on? Why'd that power out? No Beau can feel nothing. Oh, I like the way the stars look in the open hat. I don't understand why that's powered up. Listen, I have to tell you something about Ed. Ed has some thoughts about the landing. There's somebody out there. I'll be quiet, and you might hear. Gonna fight him. Gonna go out and fight him.
When Al died, he seemed at peace. That's the only way I can really characterize it. It might sound strange to say that, but he seemed in a very peaceful place. And
I think I can test this. And if it works, tell Ed. You can't tell Ed. Ed's gone now. Not much power. Testlers. There may not be enough juice for both the disk heat and the recorder. Sorry, honey. It's okay. Ed, test it now.
No, they didn't go easily. I know Al Borden, and I know Ed Lovett, and I know they would fight to the end, and you can make whatever you want of that.
In a literary sense, what happened out there might be considered almost romantic.
You didn't exactly take Apollo out in a blaze of glory.
well, I disagree with that. I think we did. I brought a team back alive. The fact that they died afterwards had nothing to do with my performance or anything that I did. I brought us back to Earth alive, much like 13 was a success.
You may not know it because you're out here in the woods, but people blame you for Alan's death.
Oh, I know it. I read it. I've been hearing it since day one.
So my brother goes and he deals with the situation. He corrects a mistake, and he gets called a criminal.
You could say that it was my fault that we landed where we landed, but you could also say it was my fault that we landed at all.
Did Bo ever say that he was disappointed because he didn't get to walk on the moon?
I never asked him.
And of course, you weren't asked to be in the shuttle program.
Nor would I want to be. Why would I want to fly a school bus?
What do you think you've missed out on?
I don't feel like I've missed out on much at all.
He came home from school and he just went straight to his room, slammed the door, and unlike him, that was really unlike him. He was usually kind of the warmth in our family. When I went to school, I kind of asked around and found out that the hang glider had broken before he actually got a turn to fly it. I think from then on in, Bo knew he wanted to be in the air. He always wanted to make sure he got his turn.
You never got married?
That's true. I've never been married. So maybe that experience and the experience of being a father.
He was a record breaker. He was a genius. He is a genius.
What has your life been like since the landing?
I've had a good life since then.
Ever feel guilty that you...
Because I didn't die? Because I didn't get sick? Because guilty?
From the people we've talked to, most of them don't seem to think that you've expressed true remorse over what happened.
Well, I don't think anybody really knows how I felt.
Bo was acting like everything was normal. There was no cloud over him. He didn't seem to be concerned or broken up about Al and Ed. His ability to push reality out of where he was and project this sense of normalcy, it was incredibly offensive to me. And I realized that this guy had the will to want everything to be perfect for him.
Did you want Al Borden to die?
Did you? What's the question?
Do you ever feel as if you'd like to contact Kate?
No. I don't think that would benefit anybody at this point.
Well, most of us thought it was about the girl. I mean, look at the big picture. In the late fall of '72, Bo meets Kate in Cocoa Beach. They go on a few dates. Then that winter, Bo and Kate go to the dinner for Werner von Braun. That's the night Al first sees Kate. You want to put it another way, that's the night Kate meets her future husband. A few weeks later, the astronaut office at NASA makes the assignments for Apollo 18. Along with Ed Lovett, Bo Cunningham and Al Borden are now going to the moon together. Not too long after that, Al and Kate are married. Now, April of 1973, the crew is given leave. Bo Cunningham disappears. He's camping in the mountains. The end of May of '73, Apollo 18 launches to the moon. By June 5th, 1973, Al Borden and Ed Lovett are dead.
This has nothing to do with Kate.
After the mission, did Bo ever try to visit you at home?
Oh, yeah, he tried.
You didn't see him?
Nope.
Well, let me ask you this then. Do you think the outcome of the mission would have been different had you never met Kate Borden?
I don't know.
Apollo was over. Shuttle was on its way. Budgets were being made. Contractors were desperate. And there was Watergate that summer. Haig had a lot to consider. On one hand, he had the disintegration of the presidency, and on the other, the possible disintegration of NASA. And if you don't think a thing like Apollo 18 could sink NASA, then you don't know much about the politics of NASA budgeting. So General Haig was looking at those two things, especially the disintegration of NASA, which would have meant the destruction of thousands of jobs, a huge loss of economic activity, and probably the end of the U.S. exploring the cosmos. And Haig understood that he couldn't save one, but he might be able to save the other, because I think I know what he was thinking. He was thinking, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a space program, but with Bo Cunningham a free man? Or would you rather have Bo Cunningham behind bars, but there be no more NASA? Our report went to the Pellerin Commission and basically dropped down a hole.
I don't think that is a fair statement.
What was your reaction when you found out that the FBI's investigation was over?
I was pissed. But it's not uncommon.
But you worked your ass off on that thing.
Sometimes you gotta eat it.
They didn't want a story running around that one of their astronauts was a goddamn psycho. It was a whitewash. I mean, they didn't even really try to make it look like anything else. We didn't hear about it for months. And all of a sudden, one day, we get a copy in the mail. And we find out that's how everybody got their copy. It was like, yep, here's your report. P.S. Fuck you.
Look, if you read the Pellerin Commission, he's a hero.
Can I remind you of something? Just in case there's a junior agent out there who might see this. There is no statute of limitations on murder.
I think I'm just as proud of him today as I was then.
I see you still wear the Apollo 18 mission pin. Why?
It's because it was my husband's mission, and because I don't want anyone to ever forget Bo Cunningham's name.
And are you waiting for the system to take care of this?
I don't have a lot of confidence in the justice system of this country. Not the way this country does it. Have you heard Pete Pellerin's little speech on patriotism? Be ready.
Do you know what keeps our great country going?
Most would say the Constitution.
Yeah, and they'd be wrong. It's not the Constitution that keeps us going. It's the belief in the Constitution. I mean, most people don't know a damn thing that's in it. And the people who complain the most about it, well, they've got it all wrong, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you know it or understand it. All that matters is that you believe in it. That's a patriot, my friend.
I like the rhythm of life here. I do fish, but I don't kill the fish. I don't kill. It's just against my belief system. And I feel like that it's unnecessary.
Have you always felt that way?
No, I haven't always felt that way, but I do now.
Pisses me off. Nobody's seeking justice. Just a couple of astronauts, no big fucking whoop. Couple of fucking astronauts dead for nothing. That's it.